Hi, I am Allie Camilletti, and you are listening to Snack Leadership. I will be talking about everything leadership, broken down into bite-sized pieces. You will hear what different leadership skills look like in organizations and how they can rise teams up or take them down. I help leaders build resilience and improve performance by bringing awareness to opportunity behaviors in my business. Spark your mindset. I provide leadership and sales coaching, as well as team building and guest speaking. My hope is for you to feel inspiration and to create a spark in your mindset. Hi everyone. Today we are talking about charisma. Charisma is the compelling charm or appeal that inspires devotion, influence, or admiration from others. It's often described as a combination of confidence, warmth, presence, and communication style that makes someone particularly magnetic or persuasive. Now, as I thought about charisma and my own perception of charisma, we hit on it a little bit with Richard of how some people can think of it as being negative. And I must say, my first feeling when I say the word charisma, I'm like, it has me skeptical. And I dug into that a little bit on my own perception and then what I read up on. Do I think part of it was my own belief of what charisma really is? Yes, but I also found some truth in it too. When we talk about the definition of charisma, it's charm, right? And that charm makes me a little bit skeptical at times. And then the making people particularly magnetic or persuasive also makes me feel skeptical. So when I went out and started looking on charisma, what I found was this really cool article on Frontiers Psychology, and it was called The Effects of Charismatic Leadership on Performance, Exploring Key Boundary Conditions at Multi-Level. It's very scientific per se as they go into their research, and they talk about their research being out of Korea and that labor force and leadership. But it really focuses on how it plays an indispensable role in facilitating organizational change, stimulating creativity, and attaining performance objectives. So I will have it in the show notes. Feel free to read through it. It's very interesting. Now, another source I found was by Harvard Education, and it was called Charismatic Leadership, Weighing the Pros and Cons. And this is what had me interested because I'm like, is it really that great? Well, it depends, because some of those characteristics, as I mentioned, can actually go a negative way if they're not used correctly. This article was written by Katie Schonk, and she talked about charismatic leadership once being promoted as a cure-all for struggling organizations. But research and theory suggests potential downsides to putting a charismatic leader in charge. You know, they start off by talking about Jack Welch, Lee Iacocca, Ronald Reagan, Steve Jobs, Sam Walton, and how those prominent leaders from the 1980s embodied a leadership style held up at the time as highly desirable and effective charismatic leadership. Now, what they go on to talk about is how the trends wax and wane, and charismatic leadership has taken a back seat to less hierarchical and paternalistic leadership styles, such as participative leadership and facilitative leadership. Now, what they say, but as long as charismatic leaders such as Elon Musk and Donald Trump continue to hold and seek power, the benefits and pitfalls of charismatic leadership deserve consideration. This is what had me go down this road. And the road I have gone down is, let's talk about the difference between charismatic and narcissistic. Now, when we look at those two, what I found was charismatic leaders inspire and motivate others by inspiring confidence and fostering connection, while narcissistic leaders primarily serve their own self-interests, often exploiting others and exhibiting a lack of empathy and accountability. A key difference is that charismatic leaders, while confident and persuasive, ultimately build up their team and appreciate individual value, whereas narcissistic leaders lack empathy, are exploitative, and are overly sensitive to criticism despite their confident demeanor. Narcissism has been a topic for me for a few years now. It is something I've really dug into, something that I have learned has become a bit of an epidemic in our country. When I talk to people, they either know about it or they don't, I find. And the work that I do, what has come up is learning about what it can look like when you are being raised by a narcissist, and how sometimes we repeat that pattern and we surround ourselves with narcissists because it's comfortable, right? Old psychology there. If we're raised with it, feels comfortable, so we surround ourselves with it later until we realize, maybe this isn't really as healthy as we thought. So let's deep dive into it. Charismatic leadership, the motivation is to inspire, uplift, and achieve shared goals, fostering a positive and collaborative environment. The skills, they possess strong communication, persuasion, and personal charm to engage and connect with others. Now, this is the skill that I was like, eeks, is that charisma or is it narcissistic? Because I feel there's an overlap, and we will look at that. The focus is different. They recognize and value the contributions of each team member, promoting their growth and success. We will see how different that is. Response to failure. Charismatic responds constructively to setbacks, learning from them and guiding the team forward. This is a key piece that I talk about with the Tiger's 6 Principles by Diane Crampton. And that speaks to risk and how we take risk as leaders, but we also reflect on them afterwards. Narcissistic leadership. Their motivation is fueled by a need for power, attention, self-glorification, placing their own needs above others. Characteristics. Displays a grandiose sense of self-importance. Entitlement. Ooh, this comes up a lot in the leadership work I do. Entitlement. I can be a little old school, and what I was raised in when it came to leadership, it may not have been as build you up. It might have been a little more like my way or the highway, but still, entitlement was not a thing back then. And we're seeing it a lot now, like the pendulum has swung a bit. A significant lack of empathy for others. That's your red flag. When you're watching a leader and you're seeing their motivation and their characteristics of like, they don't have empathy. I would also say, well, it goes into the behavior. The behavior tends to be manipulative and exploitative, using others to achieve personal gain and avoiding taking responsibility. I don't find a ton of narcissists actually ask questions. They are the person that you might have a conversation with, and they're great, right? They're persuasive. They have this charm about them. But yet, when you leave the conversation, they didn't ask you one question about you. They talked all about themselves. And so that can be a little bit of a red flag when you are trying to figure out, what am I working with here? Not that we want to put people in boxes, but I also think it's important to understand who you're working with, especially if you're looking at hiring a leader or a succession plan in your leadership development, your company, things to pay attention to. Response to criticism. highly sensitive to criticism, unable to withstand failure, often shifting blame to others. Oh, this is so key. When you hear that person that's always complaining about every job they have and how it's always everybody else, and they don't take any ability to reflect on themselves, red flag. If you're interviewing somebody and they've gone through a lot of jobs, and all the jobs, everybody else didn't know how to do anything right and how great they were, you might be working with a bit of a narcissist here. And narcissistic leadership is brutal. It's not something you want in your organization. It's very toxic. Let's look at key distinction, okay? Empathy. The fundamental difference lies in empathy. Charismatic leaders connect with others' feelings and needs, while narcissistic leaders lack it. They just do. Imagine the empathy piece. You're going to your leader, you have something going on that you want to share with them and let them know. Do they lean in with you? Listen, ask questions. Key is how can I support you? What can I do for you during this time? Or do they go to what I call the not great bonding? Oh yeah, I've had that happen too. It's the worst. That's not empathy. No. And depending on what level they take it to, they could be one-upping you, but they're really discounting what you're going through. It's different if you go in and say, so sorry you're going through this. What can I do? I have had similar situations and I understand how it can be so tough. For me, during that time, I really needed to do self-care. Should we take some time off? What are you doing for yourself? Lean in with them. You can share a little bit and get vulnerable because that's what leadership's about, and putting yourself in their shoes. But you don't one-up it or discount it ever. That's not empathy. No. Goal. Charismatic leaders focus on collective success, while narcissistic leaders prioritize their own power and success. I know I have worked with these types of leaders where I'm in the background hustling, doing all the work, and they take all the glory in it. I've always kind of been one of those people who are I'm fine. I don't need to be called out and recognized. It's just not how I roll. I kind of like to be in the background. But yet, is somebody jumping in and taking credit for your work? No. It's not what you're looking for. Leadership is about supporting others and the overall collective success. Authenticity. A charismatic leader's confidence and charm are used to empower others, whereas a narcissist's charisma often serves to mask their manipulative and exploitative intentions. This was according to Psychology Today. So I leave with you this quote by John C. Maxwell. Charisma is the ability to draw people to you. And the simplest way to do that is to genuinely care for people. Thank you for tuning in to Snack Leadership. I hope you felt inspiration, motivation, and felt your mindset spark. Snack Leadership is recorded and produced by myself, Ali Camilletti, and music by Shireen Amini.